Welcome to Todd's and Grades.
From towering trees to tiny moss, plants play important roles in our world. They provide our food, essential nutrients, energy, and increase our oxygen levels. Today, we're going to embark on a journey through the world of plants. Are you ready? Let's go! Plants belong to a kingdom called the Plantae. It's one of the biggest kingdoms of life on Earth, with over 390,000 known species of plants. From the tiniest watermeal plant to the tallest tree, all are members of this kingdom. So, what's a plant? A plant is a living organism that grows in the earth and produces its food with the help of sunlight. There are some parts of the plant that helps make this possible, and they are the root, stem, leaves, flower, and fruit. Let's start with the roots. Imagine you're playing a game of tug-of-war. You're pulling as hard as you can to stay in place. That's what roots do. They anchor the plant in the ground so it doesn't get pulled out. But that's not all. They're like little straws, sipping up water and nutrients from the soil. They're the plant's lifeline. Next up is the stem. Think of it as the plant's elevator. It carries the water and nutrients from the roots all the way up to the leaves, flowers, and fruits. It's also the support system of the plant, holding up the leaves towards the sun. Now, let's talk about the leaves. They're the plant's food factory. Using a process called photosynthesis, they take in sunlight, carbon dioxide from the air, and water from the roots, and turn them into food for the plant. It's like cooking, but instead of a stove, they use sunlight. Moving on to the flowers. They're not just there to look pretty. They have a very important job. They attract bees, butterflies, and other insects for pollination. When these insects visit the flowers, they carry pollen from one flower to another. This helps the plant to make seeds. Finally, we have the fruit. It's like a safe house for the seeds. The fruit grows from the flower after it's pollinated. When the fruit is ripe, it falls off the plant. Sometimes, animals eat the fruit and the seeds get dispersed in new locations through their droppings. This is how plants travel and grow in new places. It's time for some important key points. Did you know that just like animals, plants are living organisms? That means they're alive. They eat, drink, breathe, and grow just like us, but in their own special way. Plant versus animal. While animals can move around to find their food, plants are rooted in one spot. But don't be fooled, they're still very much alive. They compete for sunlight, they fight off bugs, and they can even communicate with each other through chemical signals. Cool, right? Next is growth. While animals grow usually only until they become adults, plants, on the other hand, grow from seeds and keep growing throughout their lives, getting taller or spreading wider. Respiration is next, and what does this mean? Respiration is the process all living things go through to create the energy they need to live, and this involves breathing. Ever tried holding your breath? Pretty tough, right? Respiration in animals and plants both involves the process of gas exchange, which are oxygen and carbon dioxide. There are some key differences between the two. Animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, while plants breathe in the reverse. They breathe in carbon dioxide and release oxygen, especially during the day, and this oxygen released is useful for both humans and animals. Aren't plants so generous? In animals, respiration occurs through the lungs, gills, spiracles, and trachea, while in plants, respiration takes place through tiny openings called stomata on their leaves. What the stomata does is to allow plants take in carbon dioxide needed for photosynthesis during the day and release oxygen. But note that plants reverse this gas exchange. During the daytime they use up carbon dioxide in the air and water and release oxygen during the process known as photosynthesis, and at night plants absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide during a process called respiration. Really interesting. Plants are really cool. Reproduction is next on the list. This simply means the way all living things reproduce or birth their little ones or offspring. For animals, they usually find a mate to reproduce, and they can have babies or lay eggs, while is quite different for plants. They can reproduce in different ways, like using seeds or spores. Let's look at it this way. Imagine you're blowing a dandelion, and all the fluffy parts fly away in the wind. Each of those tiny fluffs can land somewhere else and grow into a new dandelion. That's a bit like how spores work. They're so light and small that they can travel on the wind or water to find a new place to grow. Seeds, on the other hand, are like tiny treasure chests that contain everything a baby plant or seedling needs to start growing. Some seeds are hidden inside yummy fruits like apples or oranges, while others might be in pods, like peas or beans. When you plant these seeds in the soil and give them water, sunlight, they'll sprout into new plants. Now let's talk about nutrition. This is the nourishment our bodies get from the food we eat, and how our bodies transform our food into energy and body tissues. Nutrition is a basic need for all living things. For animals, they need to eat plants or other animals to get their energy, while plants have a different twist. Plants eat, but in a different way. Remember, plants can't move, so they use the energy from the sun to make their food through a process called photosynthesis. Look at it this way. Plants feed on sunlight. So, what's photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is gotten from two words, photo meaning light, and synthesis, which means to make something. During photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide from air and water from soil and use the energy from sunlight to transform the water into oxygen, which is released, and the carbon dioxide into glucose, which is stored up as energy. But note, all these won't be possible without the green pigment on plants called chlorophyll. It gives plants their green color, helping plants absorb light to make their food. The ability of living organisms to react to changes in their environment is called stimuli, which is next. This can also be said to be those conditions or external factors that triggers a reaction to things like sounds, smell, light, touch, or temperature. Animals, compared to plants, quickly respond to their environment, like running away when danger is sensed or adjusting to temperature change. For plants, they react to light, gravity and touch, but it's a slow dance for them. Excretion is next. This is any process through which waste products are removed from the bodies of living organisms. This includes toxic or unwanted byproducts. Excretion in some animals are carried out by special organs such as the skin, kidneys and lungs, while in some lower organisms, such as earthworm, excretion occurs through nephridia. Some waste in animals include ammonia, carbon dioxide and urea. Plants, on the other hand, lack a well-developed excretory system like that in animals. Excretion is carried out in the plants through the stomata of their leaves and lenticels of the stems. Plant waste include oxygen, carbon dioxide and excess water. The process of elimination of water in plant is called transpiration. Isn't it fascinating how plants and animals are similar in some ways but also very different? Now you can see that plants are super important for both humans and animals. They give us oxygen to breathe, food to eat, and materials for shelter and clothing. They also clean the air, provide habitats for wildlife, and even help cool the planet by providing shade. Plants are not just decorations, they're a vital part of our world, and we need to take care of them. Keep exploring and remember, every plant has a story to tell.